including Francesca. I want to talk about weed and medicinal cannabis as well. What do you think?
I think it should be legal, but I think, like, obviously you should be able to buy it, but I think it should only be manufacturers that are able to make it. Like, you shouldn't be able to grow it in your own garden.
So do you think recreational cannabis, and what do you think about medicinal cannabis? Any thoughts on medicinal cannabis? You don't have to have them, I'm just asking. Lots of people, lots of older people like medicinal cannabis for pain relief, that's all.
I think it has its benefits, because I think, like, a lot of people that have, like, epilepsy, they, like, it's done so many good things for them. And I think, like, if the doctor says that they think it's going to work, then I think it should be. Because it's like any drug can cause damage, but for some people it can benefit them. So I think if there's scientific proof that shows that it can benefit people, then I think we should go for it.
What about the thoughts that any drug will lead you into criminal company, and that the criminals are in charge of illegal drugs and you're just funding the black economy? So you think it should be legalised?
I think it should be legalised, because then it's like anything. Like, alcohol used to be illegal in the 1920s, and there was still, like, people smuggle it and stuff in America. I think if you legalise it, it's more of a norm, so people aren't scared to hold back if they have a drug problem. The more likely to come forward if they do, if it's legal.
Okay, thank you, Francesca. You may find this difficult to realise, but Elliot's got an opinion on this.
I think I kind of agree with her. I think weed should be legal, but it should be a controlled substance, like over the counter, like tobacco is. Like, there should be a minimum age, and I think, like, we need to recognise that while it does have benefits, it does also have drawbacks. So we just need to weigh up, like, all the pros and cons before.
What about a cannabis leading to use of harder drugs?
I don't really know enough on the subject to say anything.
Luke,
about that.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have to say, I know of weed being a gateway drug to much worse substances that can be harmful, and it's a shame, really, because although weed is illegal, because it leads to harsher substances, it's a shame that people do feel like it should be legalized, because although it may not be harmful in itself, more harsh substances are very, very harmful, and it could lead to absolute devastation.
So the fact that, so do you think it should continue to be illegal, or do you think there should be a form that is legalized and regulated?
I think for medical needs it should be legal, because...
So medicinal cannabis?
Yes, because people do need it. Like, there's a reason that it has been used in medicine, because it does help people.
Okay.
But
anybody else got thoughts on cannabis? Yeah, let's go to Robbie. Yeah.
I disagree with the view that weed can be a gateway drug, because the main reason it can lead on to taking harder drugs is because you're going to a dealer on the street and they're pushing harder drugs on you. Whereas if you have systems like in the US where you can go into a cannabis dispensary, you don't have the options of trying other drugs.
Right. Okay, so at the moment you can only get weed because it's illegal. Consequently, it's from a pusher, and they may be selling other stuff that's even worse. So if you just go to someone that only sells cannabis, you're not going to get the other stuff offered. Nobody quite knows whether this is going to work, Robbie. And again, this is your generation. It's not you personally, but your generation is going to have to hoover this problem up. And that is whether cannabis becomes legal and in what form. Do you think do you trust the politicians to sort this out?
I know there are quite a few politicians trying to push for reform of the drug laws on the island. But I think worldwide there has been some push to kind of make it more progressive laws, but then you also have politicians in the UK like Priti Patel who are trying to increase and give harsher punishments for laws like cannabis, which is a step back from the way the rest of the world has been going.
But it's legal across half of the American states, Canada as well, Portugal, places like that. And as you were saying, Francesca, in Amsterdam, do you think they're pushing against the tide?
Yeah, I think we're slowly starting to realise that prohibition just isn't working. It was tried with alcohol in the US, and that failed. And cannabis has been illegal for decades, and it's not stopped people from using it. And I think it's wrong that we continue to throw people in jail for using this on their own personal time when they're not harming other people.
Okay, we were talking to a local politician who was saying that you can all vote because you're over 16, but you can't become politicians because you have to be 18 years of age to become a politician. Does anybody here harbour any ambitions whatsoever to become a politician? I'm sure, Niall, would you become a politician, Niall?
No, I barely trust myself with decisions I make in school, let alone everyone else.
Well, you never know. When you look at the state of some politicians, it may be. Anybody here? Of course, it's going to be Councillor Nelson. Councillor Nelson?
I disagree that we should be able to become MHKs at 16. I don't actually think that we have enough experience with life. I don't think we know enough.
But you can vote.
Honestly, I think the voting age should be pushed up.
To 18?
To 18. Because I feel like...
You see, they made it 16 because you can go in the armed forces. You can get shot at.
I think the armed forces should be 18. I think the age 16 for armed forces and voting is too young. I feel like we aren't informed enough and we don't know and have enough world experience to make the best decisions for us or for a country by voting. So I don't think we should be allowed to become MHKs until we're 18 because we just don't have enough experience.
Do you know much about MHKs on the island?
I don't really know much about MHKs, and I follow British politics more closely,
okay.
if I'm honest.
What do you think is going to happen this time next week in the UK election?
I think the Conservatives are going to come as the highest voted party, but they're going to have to form a coalition with someone else.
And do you think Brexit's going to happen?
I think we've come too far in the process to stop it now. Like, I think the main reason people will be voting will be for the Brexit issue, even though there's a few other ones. But if there's another referendum, I reckon it'll be stopped. But if there's not, I reckon we'll just carry on going and just crash out.
Do you think the Isle of Man deserves to be included in that referendum?
I don't think so, because honestly, I don't think we should have another general referendum. The politicians are there to make the decisions for us. We elect them. They should vote it amongst themselves.
Luke, do you think the Isle of Man should be, if there's another Brexit referendum, the Isle of Man should be in it?
I do agree with Elliot that this issue should never have gone to referendum, because I feel like that the public haven't really been well informed, and therefore, because the as Elliot says, the politicians are elected for a reason to make the decisions, it should never have gone to referendum. But seeing as it did, I do believe that the Isle of Man should have had a say, because it does affect us so majorly.
Thank you to Luke Hegarty, to Elliot Nelson, Shannon Eccles, to Emma Leith, to Tom Swift, to Niall Chowdhury, Finn Miller, Camilla Kavchek, and Robbie Woodruff and Francesca Sharp. Finally, very quickly, Tom, where's the gig?
20th of December here at Istrav.
Fantastic. And the band is called?
Stage Fright. We're on Instagram.
Listen for them. Stage Fright on Instagram. Thanks to the students of St Ninian's High School. Thanks to Ben Hartley on social media. Thanks to Sarah Hendy. And thanks to Al Lewis, who's going to be on duty next week when we're live in St John's, and Matty Cunningham holding the wires together. I've been Andy Wint. Back tomorrow.